Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. Many of us are aware of this thing called AI, artificial intelligence. How does it support us? How can we really harness the power of AI in our communication? What is the things that we should be watching out for as well? We're going to look at that today with somebody who is with an amazing company that helps with effective communication and presentations. And he is Doug Redhill Pineda joining us from that company. Doug, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you bringing me on. And yeah, artificial intelligence is going to be a great conversation for today.
For sure. Before we even get there, what's your connection with effective presentations?
Yeah, so I'm the president of global business development for Effective Presentations. Effective Presentations is the highest rated public speaking company, training company in the world.
And not only do your team help people with their communication, you also do lots of other stuff too, from digital websites, I understand. Tell us about that aspect before we get into the AI.
Yeah, primarily, public speaking is kind of what we're known for around the world. Public speaking is basically the art of giving power to words, to influence, to inspire, to transform lives. And we train professional skills like public speaking and conflict resolution, or how to have more effective meetings to people from the world's biggest brands, government, state agencies, business to business, the biggest brands you probably ever see anywhere around the planet. Essentially, we help professionals learn to be better professionals.
Love it. All right. Now we're going to pivot over to artificial intelligence. I want you to start. I've got my view of it. I've tinkered with it. I've used it in business as well here and there, but your overall thoughts.
You know, big subject, brand new to everybody. Everybody's just kind of figuring out what this means to them. If artificial intelligence is just now reaching us to the masses, so to speak, it's probably been around government agencies, probably around the world, so probably some of the biggest tech companies around for probably a long time before it hit us. And so now that's going to be really interesting to see what are we going to do with it? How does AI influence modern communications? We're a communications company, and so that's how I have to look at it from my desk and the from the viewpoint of effective presentations. So the way I approached it was, and am approaching it, is this starting with the idea of just mass communications. Okay, where did we start? Right? Gutenberg invented the printing press and unleashed the written word to the masses, right? Books, and then that evolved into newspapers. And then first, so now we had the very first sense of our, of just being a human. We have the written word we can read. Now radio kind of comes along in our history. So now we have sound to go along. So we have written word on one side, somebody's reading the newspaper, and then at night they're flipping on the radio. So now sight and sound, but they're separate. Then TV evolved. TV came along and basically integrated those two. So now we have sight and sound on the same medium, TV, right? And then as TV evolved, and that was a long period of time. And a long period of time, meaning that um, color, black and white into color, from color into multiple channels. Now we've got a business, right? Now we've got a marketplace, and it's identifying market sectors, and that's advertising to those market sectors. And as they realize we're consuming more than ever, this TV is taking over. It's the invention of moving from having dinner at the dinner table to having dinner in front of the TV on TV trays, right? And that evolves into more. So the market's going to respond to the demand of that consumerism. And then we move into these multiple channels. And now we've got video, right? Now we're experiencing video because as video, we got MTV coming along. We've got almost this reality TV is evolving as well during that time in different ways. And with the video, now we're experiencing culture because as technology became more available to us in forms of like YouTube or even think about local communication. Like we just watched, what is that with Wayne and Garth, right?
Oh,
Wayne's like
yeah,
remember that they
right,
made
right.
fun. That was a huge right. It was so interesting because you're watching Wayne and Garth have a TV show in their basement. It was a great movie, but really that's what it is. It put the experience into the hands of just anybody who can really get a camera and hit record. And so video, we have the now we're experiencing each other's culture. We're not forced fed from the media, but now we're just sharing culture with each other. Okay, that was probably one of the biggest leaps. And then it got fast, very fast, because now all of a sudden, here's AI. Started showing up about what, 18 months, 24 months ago at the earliest you started seeing conversations about it. And now we're talking about it every day and at every generational level too. So AI now brings the experience to communication. So just like in the printed, and then we have the sound, and those came together. Now we have multiple senses coming together. Now we can see something, we can hear something, and here's the biggest one. Now we're experiencing it. And by this word experience and AI are going to be inextricably combined together because now we can truly, truly have a deep experience as it removes this veil of reality. We're now able to see, now we can hear, and now we can experience something that is indistinguishable from reality. So AI, I think, is going to offer us a truly more immersive experience as a humanity. Yeah, it's just, I think it's bringing our senses together and just this idea that we're going to be able to, by experience, I mean the word feel. Because now imagine you're watching a movie, right?
Mm.
And it's a movie and it can make you laugh or it can make you cry or it can make you afraid. Now take that experience and wrap that around to a 360 immersive experience and or the ability to where something is, like I said, indistinguishable. You can literally create it at that moment. So I think the ability for communication is just going to explode in a way that humanity has never seen before. It's not going away. It's just going to get better and better at satisfying our senses more and more deeply. So I think it would be a good idea for us to embrace AI. And starting to the idea of embracing that is really just the idea of starting with what does it mean to me, first of all, each of us individually. How is it going to seep into our family experience? How is that going to spill over into our professional experience? And then what does that mean? And then how are we going to be stewards of this for just all of us, just society in general?
Are you concerned at all, Doug, with AI?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the idea of bringing in this concept of being a steward of it, because, either it's going to be a dog off a leash or it's going to be trainable into some degree by us.
Hmm. What about the loss of jobs for some? There's
Yeah, I
I
think,
yeah, it's like look at photography. I've actually found images using AI. Like literally just typing in woman carrying cardboard box in storage facility located outside. Needed a photograph. Wonder what would come up. Pretty much spot on. Yeah, sometimes you can spot that it's AI. It just looks a little too clean and too perfect, but eventually could take the place of a photographer and other potentially lost jobs. Your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think it's going to decentralize like big media. And what I mean by that is maybe decentralize is that's one of the words. It's also going to allow everybody to be a media source in that same way. I'll give you an example. One of the things I was having a discussion um, recently was, okay, so someone introduced to me one of the AI apps that did cinematic um, uh, creation, and they were to say, okay, there is in the late 1400s, feudal Japan, a geisha walking down the street in a light rain. and basically they use their prompt to really create an elaborate scene. And that scene rendered in about 30 seconds to the point to where it was, again, indistinguishable from reality at a cinematic level, like James Cameron shot it or a Spielberg shot it,
Sure.
where the reflections were in the puddles on the street, where there was a cat walking in the background that stopped on a corner and groomed itself, to where a man was stepping over a puddle in the background, to where all of the signage in that area and the architecture was spot on. So as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, what are you going to do with these multi-million dollar actors that have to show up on set at 6 a.m. with a huge staff that's incredibly expensive? What do you do? Like that scene right there was so amazing that probably with a little bit more time and money, they can create more technology to the point to where you're not making $100 million movies anymore. You've got a 14-year-old with the world as their imagination, and they're the new Spielbergs. So that removes, I would say that it displaces some creativity. I think it displaces some market sectors. I think it will remove jobs. However, I think that there's certain jobs as well that will just make our jobs more efficient. And it'll make us, and the people who embrace I think you'll still have the same jobs, administrators. I think you'll have the same jobs as
Hmm.
executives, managers. They're just going to do their job more efficiently.
Yeah, almost as a shift. And I can see that as well. And when you look at the evolution of media and technology, think of it this way. 30 years ago and before, when it came to taking photos and video, you had film cameras and we could take them and it was, pretty decent, but professional photographers did a much better job because they had the technology. Fast forward to now, we have this thing right here, and the quality of it is just as good as a photographer in many regards. Same thing with the video. I've got a friend who I worked creatively with in radio for a lot of years, and she is a side hustle doing photography using her phone and getting great results. People are paying her. So let's say, you have an event or you just want a very artistic photo shoot. She'll do it with her phone and it looks amazing. So the tools have changed, but you still need creative people. Even to your point, creating that piece of video, which was simple and not a, $100 million shoot. You still need creative people to input that and the story and everything else that goes along with that. So, and maybe not a loss of jobs, but a shift. That's
It
what it
is a
sounds like.
shift. Keep in mind what happened to our to communications and media in the late 1990s, early 2000s, meaning that everything at that time was still we're in a transition of where a lot of media was shot on analog film. So the same film that Scorsese was filming for his movies is the same exact film that the local car dealership was filming for their car dealership. So it was the same technology. Everybody had that same level of tech. But
Hmm.
what was happening then all of a sudden we got digital was coming in. But digital, the transition was is that digital was fast, but the problem was editing because the editing software wasn't there. So basically,
Hmm.
you had to work with analog film to edit a car commercial at $300 to $400 an hour, at the same $300 to $400 an hour that Scorsese's editors were in the editing studio editing analog film.
Sure.
Now, what happened is during that time, you started having people to do file format changes in order to get graphics onto analog film.
Yep.
And then that changed everything because now you have a $35 to $45 graphic designer versus a $350 to $450 analog editor. That was the first piece that changed over. So you no longer have three, four, $500 video analog editors as much anymore, but now you have. So what happened is that it brought more editors in, yes, at a lower price, but look at the amount of content that's available. Our kids are editors now.
Yeah,
Like you put up your phone, right? Look at the biggest editor and look at how much money, look at the amount of revenue they're able to create off of these revenues because these other mediums come into place like TikTok or these, just various platforms that allow us to distribute, our content.
sure. Yeah, and
So
it's quick
if
and
anything, it's
easy.
just more will come and exist. Yeah,
I really believe that a lot of this is us understanding what's being done because, like, for example, I had a conversation, did a podcast with an interior designer, and people will come to her and say, well, look at this, look at this couch and how this looks, I want this. And she looks at them and says, I can't guarantee I can find that for you because that was generated by AI. So we need to put it into perspective, the reality. Even, you can take headshots. We can put ourselves on, amazing bodies just like that on your phone. So it needs to be understood that a lot of this is not reality. And
it's
and
true.
we have to see that.
Look at your interior designer friend. Now, what will happen is like a new business idea can come up. Like for instance, a custom furniture maker. And then a custom furniture maker says, okay, he just sees a new market open up, meaning that interior designers, do you have people showing you furniture or accessories or whatever it may be generated by AI? Send it to me, I'll render it and make it for you.
Hmm.
So see how now that opens up. It may eliminate certain jobs to where, it could eliminate certain jobs in one part of the discussion. Another part of the discussion, it can open up brand new market sectors that have never even been conceived before.
Sure.
That's the idea of embracing AI. If we embrace it, then we'll see the opportunities. If we reject it, then we're going to be those opportunities will be hidden from us because we're not open to them.
I Let's face it, we can't reject it because it's coming. It's here.
It's here
It's
and
like a
it's
steamroller coming through. And so either you pivot and work with it or you're out of the game. And I've got colleagues. I mean, I've worked in broadcast and radio since I was 17, and people saying, well, the AI voices can do a voiceover and all of that. And I said, yes, they can, but it's not human and it can't invoke certain emotion. So depending on the project, sure, you can use AI. Other projects, you really can't. So same thing with photography. Sometimes you need to physically shoot something. It's the way it is, but we have to see the opportunity. And I appreciate you saying that.
very well said. And that's a big piece of it is imagine this conversation will review it a year from now.
Hmm.
Do you know how far AI how it's going to develop in 1 year? Look at where it was a year ago. Barely a splash. Now we're all
Yeah.
talking about like everybody knows about it and experts are coming out. Nobody's an expert on this. Like
Right.
everybody's just trying to figure it out. We're still having conversations. Is it conscious? Will it at some point achieve awareness from that consciousness? Will it go? It has the idea that of potential. And when we see something with potential, but we're not in control of it, it brings some fear into place. And so because what it is, we can't predict its potential. And because if we don't know what its potential, again, if we can't control it, there's where fear comes from. And
And,
we
and
just
realize it's
now
not perfect. It's not perfect. Let's be honest. Even Google, Google advertising, there's a massive amount of AI involved in that and has been for many, many years. But sometimes, and I'm involved in that as well, like your company, um, found some challenges where when you got the right people looking at it, peeling back some layers. Oh, wait a minute. If we do it this way and we kind of fool the AI, we get better results. So it's not perfected. So I believe what we're identifying here is we need to embrace it, see the opportunity, but realize it's not perfect. I don't know if it ever will be. We're always going to need humans at some point, right?
well, something of that perfection will come in and how does it make our lives easier? And like look at it, we spend a lot of money on energy. Right now we employ, and there's a lot of people skills involved in that energy. in the extraction, in the refinement, in the distribution. You bring AI in to figure out like where are your inefficiencies.
Mm.
And then what does that do? If we do that and we all recognize that and we recognize it quickly, we embrace it quickly, we can look at the energy companies and says, why are our bills high? It is unnecessarily high. You are raking in profits. You do not need to be making this much money off of something that everybody has to live off of. It's going to do the same thing for farm production. It's going to do the same thing for fuel. It's going to do the same. There's so many things. Look at legal expenses. You get somebody who truly needs who truly needs legal help in our justice system. They can't get real justice because they can't afford justice. Now you have AI coming into the legal field, and you don't need a lawyer who's got a big staff to do research or just has a lot of experience. You type in your exact issue to AI, and they will bring up every record from every case that
Mm.
has been won and has you know has it has precedent set from court cases that no human or a group of humans of a lawyers could ever get together. You think you're going to pay a lawyer $250 an hour or $450 an hour anymore? No way. It's going to drop the legal market because you can go in there and go, I already know what to do. Here's all your court cases. Here's what you do. You take your professional license, so it's going to basically drop down some of the expenses. Look at healthcare. You go to a doctor at the level of they have to have all the expenses of doctors and the support to all of the medical staff, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go to a doctor over and over and over again. How many times have you heard, or any one of the listeners here, have ever heard of a doctor not getting it right? Probably every single one of us. But now you put your symptoms and your blood work and all of your test results into AI, and AI will scour the entire world of information in a second. And it will tell you probably what the biggest issue is. And you don't need a doctor that's fumbling around figuring it out. If you've got something that's unidentifiable, how many of us got, I mean, look at how many medications people are on right now. You go to one doctor, they give you a medication. You go to another doctor, you go to another doctor. You got 4 or 5 now medications, and no doc. You think any one of those 3 or 4 doctors that assigned you or prescribed you those medications? Do you think any one of them are calling each other, talking to each other about your specific case? Heck no. They have
Yeah.
no idea. They have no idea what those pharmaceuticals are going to collide against each other and what's going to happen in your body. You put in your medication to AI, and you're going to figure like, oh, this is why can't sleep at night. Oh, this is why I'm depressed. Oh, this is why I've got anxiety. Oh, these are the see, AI is going to take a lot of this stuff that we're dealing with now, and then by stuff I mean like the idiosyncrasies, the unknowns, the human factors of fallibility is going to
Okay.
remove a lot of those. So that's how I think that it's going to drop prices. I think it's going to raise expectations. I think it's going to raise accountability to professionals. And that's again why I look at it from a communication standpoint. If we're raising expectations of professionals, then you better be a better professional. What's the number one aspect of being a professional is understanding yourself, your place in the world, and the ability to communicate with the outside world, your professional abilities. That's why effective presentations exists. That's why we're the highest rated um, professional training company in the world. And it's why I think communication and AI together going into the future is going to be so imperative. You
I
gotta.
appreciate all that. You just brought back a memory. It was probably 12 years ago, maybe a little bit more around there. Is that a doctor? New practice or new for me. And I peered over the doctor's shoulder and they were Googling medication interactions. Like I'm like, what? And I didn't say anything. What are you doing over there? No, I'm just checking it online. And one might think it's this magical database, but no, it was just Google. So to your point, that technology was then and helpful. Now we've got even more in AI. Doug, fantastic talking with you today. How does somebody connect with you to improve their communication and make presentations and even help with their marketing?
Absolutely. So you can find us at effectivepresentations.com. Come find us. We're just reach out through the phone number or the contact us page. And we do it, we do professional skills training in person. We do it virtually. We travel to your group, or you can come into Colorado and be trained here. And we have all different price levels, because we really, really realize that the ability for people to reach the world in a bigger way is just, it's just so important. It's really the art of giving power to words. And we're going to have to, as professionals, influence our people, inspire our people, and transform lives like never before. We're really at a time and place in the world to where our communication really matters. And we look forward to seeing everyone. And thank you for having me on the show today.
Appreciate it. Communication is everything, has been since the beginning of people. and it's even more important because now there's more channels where your communication go out, i.e. social media, etc. Thanks for being here, and looking forward next time we get a chance to talk.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.